Welcome back to another episode of Sky U Pod, fellas. Oh, it was a tough one. The Gophers squeaked by Nebraska 13-10, scoring 10 points in the final 2 minutes and 32 seconds. Whew, I was there. You're just talking to you guys about this. The crowd, second half, kind of out of it, but when Justin Wally punched that ball out and got us the ball back with 2.5 minutes, it's like the energy just came right back to the stadium. It was a great crowd. Definitely top five finish to any Gopher game that I've been to. Um, Man, the offense had some struggles, but made plays when it counted. Defense was, for the most part, pretty dominant or executing very highly throughout the whole game. Special teams, we'll get to all that, but fellas, what are your thoughts on the Gophers' walk-off victory to start the season?
Go ahead, Max.
Yeah, no, it was I feel like I was trying to think, in the past we've done like a word of the game or like kind of a feeling that we've, came away with, and for the longest, like it took until probably the next day, even like the next evening, it was like I had to remind myself like we won that football game. Like I felt so weird about it. Like it felt like there was two or three different times where it's like, yeah, this is it. Like it's over. We can't come back from that. And then the defense enforced a turnover. We get some amazing fourth down or third down conversion. Obviously the Daniel Jackson catch at the end there was incredible. So yeah, I mean the whole game was crazy, especially at the end. It was to me it was just unbelievable. Like that's not a game we win. It's definitely a game that we've seen Nebraska lose like that. It's unfortunate that it's carried over from the Scott Frost era, but hopefully that's a one-time thing for Matt Rule.
Yeah, it's the first game of the year, so against a Big Ten opponent, and I guess you take what you can get in that situation. Um, I felt like we stole the game, to be honest. I felt like Nebraska had control of the game, frankly, and from the start of the second half until, like you said, Curry, until Wally punched that ball out. Um, I think they'll work out the kinks. I was I'm a little disappointed, obviously, in some aspects of the game. I think defense played tremendous. I mean, only letting up what was it, 10 point? Yeah, 10 points. That's pretty solid in a college football game in this day and age. And forcing four turnovers. I mean, without those turnovers, we lose the game. So I was happy with that. Offensively, I'm impressed with the ball throwing that we did. We literally passed the ball, I think, 44 times, which
Yeah.
is insane. And but it was weird to see the running game. It didn't really develop, and I don't think it was because of our backs. I just think our O line was getting beat up, honestly, and that's credit to the Nebraska's D line. But they were winning the fight up front, and like I said, I'm just lucky that the Gophers pulled out the win.
Yeah, I think I sent a text in, at the start of the fourth quarter saying like if you would have told me that we were losing to start the fourth quarter, I would have imagined myself being more angry or upset than I was feeling. Like it was kind of a weird feeling I was having just because I liked a lot of the plays I was seeing out of the defense, especially. The offense had its struggles as we've acknowledged, but I was liking a lot of the question marks that I thought we were going to have coming into the game. I felt, maybe I can't say they were answered after one game, but let's start with this defense because I had a lot of questions about the D line that PJ had been hyping up for a while now. Coming away with 3 sacks against a pretty mobile quarterback, I was super encouraged about that. I thought, I saw some people saying we kind of got pushed around up front. I didn't think so. Um, Nebraska, we didn't have any film on what they were really going to run offensively. We kind of knew from Matt Rule's previous offense how they might look, but with how many different things they hit the Gophers with, I mean, running the quarterback like QB power, a lot of read options. They've mixed in triple option run, and to have all that thrown at that, defensive front that didn't have Cody Lindenberg that we didn't learn until right before the game. I was just super impressed with really the front seven and yeah, they finished with 180 yards rushing, but they couldn't throw the ball. So to hold a college offense under 300 yards of offense, that's pretty dang good in today's age of college football. So, um, going to the secondary too, like we didn't know who for sure that other corner besides Wally was going to be. And wow, now I'm forgetting his name as he like had one of his best games. Trayvon Jones, the transfer from Elon, came in, led the team in tackles, had the pick in the end zone. Granted, it was kind of thrown right to him, but I mean, still made the play when the opportunity arose to hold the shutout going into half. So, um, and a big thing too that stuck out to me about this defense was we looked really fast to me. Um, Derek Burns, who sometimes on Ryan Burns' podcast, but I also follows Twitter, he's tweeting it out. Like this team defense overall, like spread out throughout the field, is something I don't think we've seen out of a defense under PJ Fleck yet in the 7-year era. They've been very good. I don't want to read too much into it, but it seems like this defense in particular has a chance to be that next level defense. There's a lot of years in the past where our defense, like thinking specifically the last 2 years, the defense has played really well and given us every chance to win the game. This was a step forward, I thought, in that the defense actually went out and won you this game by getting you those takeovers. Like it was very Iowa like, maybe in more ways than we wanted with how the offense played, but um, in the defense stepping up and putting the offense on their back for this one to get them the ball when they needed to make the play. So um, I I came away very impressed by the defense. I know the secondary is probably going to get maybe even a better test this week, potentially in the passing game. That is so. We'll see how they hold up there, but from what we saw, I was very thrilled and think that this defense has a chance to um, maybe have a bigger impact for where we end up this season than I thought.
Yeah, I was definitely. I mean, it was clear that the defense won us the game, like we said too, and it seemed like, you know, we talked about before the game, what we were going to see differently on offense and on defense too. And I think one of our biggest gripes from last year was, we were never getting enough pass rush, and everyone's talked about that too. And a lot of it was just because we never blitzed, even on third and long, we just never blitzed. And it seemed like defensively we came out with the same sort of game plan, but we were getting pressure with four, and it seemed like our D line just looked bigger and stronger than Nebraska's. Now we don't know, we won't really know for a couple games yet how talented or how physically dominant Nebraska's offensive line is, but that's just not something we've seen. It just seemed like all over the field, like you said, we made mistakes, like we missed tackles, but the defense was still that dominant. Like that gives me hope for the rest of the season. If they can clean up some of those little things, we get Cody Lindenberg back. I, we're going to need that for Big Ten play the rest of the season.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. If there was one thing I got to nitpick at, it was containing Sims. I think he's probably the more athletic quarterback probably that we're going to see this season. But
Yep.
you have two inexperienced linebackers who are there, Devin Williams and Maverick Baranowski, kind of filling in. So overall, I was impressed, being that they were kind of just getting their foot in the door this first game, and they did an all right job. And like you both mentioned, when Slindenberg gets back in there, I don't see how the defense won't improve. I think they'll just be that much better. Kurt, you said the D line. We've been saying, it seems like for years, that we need something from this D line, and 3 sacks, like you said, Kurt, against a mobile quarterback is pretty impressive. So I was pretty happy about that. I just think that this team will just keep improving on the defensive side of the ball. So it's pretty exciting to see, like, every position seems to have an impact on the game. So we'll see how things kind of shape out the rest of the season.
Yeah, I mean, with the only points really coming after like set up by the long kick return and then that really goofy trick
Yeah,
play, it was tough to ask for anything more, and then they still went out and
right.
got you the turnover. So I mean that's probably the going to be the thing we rave about the most from this game. Obviously, is the defense. We can transition to the offense here, which really only 2 possessions for the most part in the first half. We mentioned Ethan threw the ball 44 times, way more than I expected. He actually, I think a couple of his scrambles came out of like pass plays as well. So we actually
Right.
probably dropped back to pass closer to 50 times, including the 3 sacks they gave up. You know, it was interesting how quick to me we went away from the run. I know it was not doing very well. That third quarter where I think the biggest struggle was happening for them, it seemed like, okay, we try a quick hitter on first down, which given the defense they were playing, I thought, I was fine with it. But it's like as soon as there was an incomplete pass on first down, then we went, okay, run up the gut stuff. And it just, and then, okay, now we're third and long. Got to throw the ball, like try and pick up the first down. Um, so it got a little predictable and vanilla out there, I felt like at times. We mentioned the trick play Nebraska run. That's still something that we haven't seen a lot of. PJ Fleck is coming up with just some obscure play calls or just different play calls to kind of throw the defense off balance. And I get it's the first game, first coordinator calling, his first game, so I'm not expecting a ton. It's just that's something I hope that they might start mixing in. Had a few drops. Ethan definitely missed some throws. The pick was tough, but it came after just a laser. So, I think he'll get more comfortable as it goes on. Let's start with the O line. I'll let you guys go first on the O line. Just overall, talk about what you guys thought about the O line.
Well, I mean, I feel like it's hard to say. I feel like for me, they met expectations or there was some mistakes, but overall they played solid. We knew they were going to be, there was the inexperience in play time, but not the inexperience of like, there was no freshmen or sophomores or like young guys. Like we still had the physical, tool set there up front that we need. Um, it was just, I don't know, one or two too many missed blocks to really, feel super great about how they played. But overall, I guess I really can't complain about it. I think we talked about the one. Now I'm blanking on names when our center just didn't look at the D lineman running past him to sack Ethan.
Yeah, Nathan Bowe, I believe, is the center.
Yes, Bo. So it was things like that where it's like it's not like anyone ever got physically outmatched that I could tell. It was just the small miscues that I hope we can clean up. Like we said, it's game one, huge Big Ten game. Like mistakes are going to happen like that. So overall, I feel okay with it with what we saw.
I was okay with it too. It seems like the talent is there. I just feel like the chemistry that an offensive line needs wasn't quite there yet, and I think that just playing games is going to correct that. Um, Running the ball, I think that's where it really kind of was showing, specifically in the interior. It just didn't seem like things were coming together well. So um, again, I think that it's just growing pains. Hopefully, they'll be able to kind of gel together throughout the season. I think it's nice that these coming games it'll be against non-conference opponents to really kind of just get the ball rolling there until we go to UNC and then start Big Ten play. So um, yeah, Kurt, it's funny you said at the beginning of the show that you weren't so mad for what's happening, and I kind of felt the same way. I mean, it's frustrating, but it's not like like a last year losing to a Purdue or an Illinois,
Right.
mid-season. It just felt like it's the first game, it's growing pains. This is new, this is different. You kind of just roll with the punches, and I think that we're going to probably see that for the next game or two. But I think
Yeah.
ultimately the Gophers will improve.
Yeah. Talking about the O line specifically, the 3 sacks. I actually thought the O line's pass protection was overall pretty good. Like Max referenced the one that was clearly just like a blown assignment. It wasn't like he just got bull rushed straight back into the quarterback off the snap of the ball. I thought that so for basically 50 pass attempts in the game, giving up 3 sacks. That's I thought not. I'm not going to complain about that. Run blocking was definitely the struggle, and it's tough to tell for me right now. If it was more play calling or the just gelling. It was like we had guys on bodies. They just weren't sustaining the blocks quite long enough. It seemed like. So gelling is definitely a big thing. I think the O line will get better. It's funny. I feel like we're just from scrolling through Twitter or X, whatever we're calling it now, a lot of fans I feel like have changed their tune after seeing the rest of the teams play Saturday, because I felt like not just Gopher fans but other Big Ten fans in general, like, oh, Gophers are really going to struggle this year. Gophers are really going to. It's like, I was just like, well, teams get better as the year goes on all the time. I'm not saying like maybe we do struggle to run the ball this year. Maybe that is a real problem that we, just have to live with this year. But that 2019 team that we're always referencing, they won by an average of 4.5 points to start the year in their first three
Yeah,
non-conference games, and that was against South Dakota State, Georgia Southern, and Fresno State. So let's just pump the brakes here before we're just declaring like the run game is dead for Minnesota. I mean, Iowa couldn't run the ball or struggled to run the ball against Utah State. Wisconsin was struggling for a while with Buffalo. So let's just slow it down. Illinois got taken to the wire there with Toledo. So at the end of the day, you look at it, and the Gophers probably had the best win against the
yeah,
toughest opponent of anyone in the Big Ten week 1. So,
right.
not saying we looked the best, but I think at the end, you're leading the West after week 1, and you took care of business. So, um, I'm more. I guess if I had to put if I had to answer, if more concerned about personnel or play calling, I think it's a little bit of the coaching and play calling is like which one I would be a little bit worried about more going forward. Just like I said, I thought the run game was bailed on, and I'll actually use this point to kind of transition into something else I want to get to. Like Sean Tyler needs to carry the ball more than 10 times if this is what we're going to see out of these backs, just because Bryce Williams is fine. And I'm not saying Bryce Williams can't get those 6 carries, but Sean Tyler, just to me, was clearly the most elusive running back, looked the most comfortable running the ball in this offense as it is right now on and only 10 carries for a guy like that. I know he's not Mo. He's not going to get 25 carries a game, but I would love to see him get closer to like that 18 touches um, a game, either giving him a quick pass out of the backfield or, handing it off to him. I thought there would maybe set up a screen or something for him. Um, I was going to transition to something, but I actually want to stay on another point. Something I also didn't really love about this offense. I'm not crazy about Span Ford lining up out wide as an X, as like an X receiver. One, it's like Nebraska never just manned up on him, so it wasn't getting you a really that big of a mismatch in the passing game. They had like 3 guys on him, and Nathan still tried to force him that one in the first half. So when he's not working out there to create mismatches for your passing game, just get them like as a normal tight end spot, blocking for the run game and then using them off the play action. One of my complaints to my cousin who I was at the game with was that a lot of teams have plays designed for their best players, and this was before the fourth quarter, and I'm like, we haven't drawn up really anything for Span Ford. I know we've targeted him a couple times, hit him a few hitches, then we brought him back in the fourth quarter, and we did hit him with that screen pass to set up the field, that last first down before scoring the touchdown. So that was good to see. Like I said, I think everyone was just getting to the groove of it. Uh, the other play call, we talked about it. It was brutal. It's still brutal because we never really got back to being able to run the football. Was we were moving the ball on them that second drive when we called that end around to Daniel Jackson, and not only were we moving it on them, running the football like the only point in the game, on 2nd and 4, you run like a toss that starts, the end around that starts at 5 yards behind the line of scrimmage, and you didn't really do anything even to set it up. Like we weren't doing anything to make them think, oh crap, like I got to fly up in here to, they were just playing their contain and saw the guy just coming at them with the football. So wasn't crazy about that, but week 1, I'm not overall concerned. Just those are a few coaching items I had a problem with, and if you guys have anything to add, go ahead. But if you're not going to use Sean Tyler to get like that 18 touches strictly out of the backfield, I don't understand why he's not your return man, having 3 return touchdowns in his career at Western Michigan. And with how bad the return game was for us against Nebraska, it just doesn't make sense. PJ was talking about using starters on special teams because they're important. Like Tyler Nubin's on kickoff coverage. He was talking about after the game how important it is that he's on kickoff because if you're on special teams, you're a starter. That's what Tyler Nubin was saying. I think that needs to be applied to the kick returner and punt returner as well. I'm not going to sit here and blame the returner himself. I didn't think it was necessarily his fault. I gotta assume he was told to keep trying to return the ball because he kept trying over and over and over again, and we never made it. I mean, we barely got back to the 20 every time. So
You
we
never
went.
made it past the 20.
Yeah, we went from being overly conservative these last 6 years, like just fair catching everything, to now we're just killing ourselves taking it inside the 20.
Yeah.
It's so frustrating to see these special teams be something that we have to overcome and again and again. PJ, this is a seventh year. Why are your special teams being so outperformed by Matt Rule, who's in year one at Nebraska, and a Nebraska team that, yes, has good players, but they haven't been into a bowl game in like 5 years now or something like that. So it's not like this Nebraska team's got things rolling right away. It's just the special teams has to be better. I don't have a lot of faith right now that it will because it's been the same now for 7 years. Coverage units are fine. The return game, though, that was frustrating, and I don't get when you have electric athletes. You have the true freshman receiver who I'm blanking on, but we've referenced before that they really like, and I've said how great he is with the ball in his hands. Sean Tyler, notable returner at Western Michigan. Corey Crooms, he's shifty with the ball. I don't get why you don't try someone else back there that's just a little bit more elusive and can maybe help out those return units.
Yeah, I think that kind of comes back to what you said earlier, Kurt, about if you're more concerned about the players versus the coaching and play calling. I think that all kind of comes back to coaching and play calling, right? I mean, it's an obvious personnel issue that
Yeah.
if we sitting at home or you sitting in the stands can see, obviously, we're they know more than we do, and they're always going to know what's
Right.
going on. But
Right.
like, there's those little things that it's like, okay, it happens once, it happens twice, whatever. But if we're just always like, we basically sacrificed 5 yards every kick return. Like, you don't
Yeah.
have to
And
do
for
that.
an and for an offense that was already struggling, it's like cool. We're just
Exactly.
making it harder and harder on them. So
Right. Yeah, it just felt like there was the little adjustments that just never got made. But again, game one, I don't lose a lot of faith in that being fixed. But yeah, I think offensively, the one thing that stood out to me as my biggest complaint, I guess play calling wise, is, and it kind of comes back to the end around play call too. It's like we had a lot of, I know PJ doesn't believe in momentum, which I guess he worked out this game. We had no momentum and came back and won. So I guess he's right this
yeah.
time. But um, it felt like, the offense could never really get into a rhythm, and it felt like the couple times when it'd be, we'd hit a couple chunk plays or get a couple first downs, and it finally felt like the train was slowly starting to speed up. We run some little play action screen or like some like the end around or some little like
Yeah.
rinky dinky play, and it was like it was plays that seemed like you would call if you couldn't get something going and you just wanted to try to surprise the defense, like Nebraska did with
Yes.
their trick play out of half. Like,
Yeah.
we just started to bust out those types of plays, it seemed like for no reason when everything else
Yeah.
was starting to work. So that bothered me a lot. I thought, yeah, I mean, I thought Ethan did okay. He throwing the ball 44 times. I don't know if the Gophers have ever thrown the ball that many times,
I
but
don't think they have under PJ. I really don't think they have.
yeah. So yeah, I mean, overall, I think I was pleasantly surprised with what we
Yeah.
saw, especially for how different it was. I was totally shocked. I did not expect that at all. But yeah, some of the play calling things, and I don't know why. Maybe you guys feel the same or not, but it felt like, because we did sort of step away from the run game. I think we only handed it off like 16 or 17 times, but it felt like we called a significantly higher number of play action passes
Hmm.
compared to like never handing it off. Like, it didn't
Yeah.
make any sense to me. Like, who are we surprising with this? Like, you
Yeah.
run the
Well,
play action off your run,
I
not just to do it. I don't know.
yeah, I think what they were running there, it seemed to be a lot of times off that play action. It seemed to kind of set up max protect. Like a lot of that was ran in the first
Right.
half. I felt like, and it was just like mainly just two routes were downfield. So I kind of get it. But no, you're right. You got to have a better ratio if you're going to keep running play action passes. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's a good point.
I agree with both of you on the play calling. Like Kurt, you said, it seems like PJ never kind of gets funky with the plays at all. Like kind of Nebraska did when they scored that touchdown. But it seems like when they spice it up a little bit, like you said, Max, it's when you don't need to. that end around play, we had control of the ball. I was convinced we were going to score, and then they run that play, and we lose some yards, and that
It
just kind
killed
of
the whole
washed
running game.
the whole. It killed everything, and
Yeah.
that was kind of a bummer to see. One thing that I was disappointed in is so we have Sean Tyler, and we know that he's probably the best back. Bryce Williams, he's been there for 17 years, and he's probably a great, hard worker, good football player. But it's evident that we're not seeing like uh, Evans or Darius Taylor. Like I've been kind of waiting to see those young guys
Yeah.
in action, and we haven't seen them. And I kind of wish we did. It just tells me that I guess Bryce Williams is our second string guy, and maybe he is the second string guy. But I kind of would have liked to see that, or like get one of them in to see if we do generate the run game.
Yeah.
Like I forget the term that PJ would use. You have
Pair
two
and
guys and a
spare.
spare, yeah,
Yeah.
pair and a spare. Like it would have been nice to see a third guy to see if they could generate something. But when
Yeah.
like you guys said, when you only run it a handful of times, you can't really get there anyway. Um, I definitely think that these next games that they'll try to run the ball a little more. I think they'll be more capable to do so. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's kind of hard to see your bread and butter that's been there for several years to to kind of stay away from it is kind of
Right.
eye opening. And in the Big Ten, you can't win ball games if you can't run the ball. So hopefully they
Agreed.
kind of get that fixed up.
Yeah, Darius Taylor had one carry. I think he was on the field for like 2 or 3 plays at the most. And PJ was asked about Zach Evans, kind of about he was asked about the whole thing you just talked about, Spencer, with the running backs, and he was saying basically from after hearing him talk, it sounded like he trusted Sean Tyler and Bryce Williams in this game to just stick with those two as much as possible because he trusted them going against a tough opponent, Nebraska, to start the year. Basically, it sounded like he didn't feel comfortable enough to stick those other two out there quite yet for significant playing time. Somebody asked him if Zach Evans was healthy. He said yes, he's healthy, and we really happy with him, but he's just down on the depth chart. So I think reading through the lines, obviously Zach Evans is probably running back number 4 in PJ's mind, which is surprising. We're not there every day. Just Zach Evans stood out a lot in the spring game. So, but I think he still has a chance to have an impact this season, as does Darius Taylor. I'd like to see, like you guys said, I'd like to see them get a few more carries too, just to see if they can make a guy miss, because neither Tyler or Williams really made anybody miss or broke many tackles. So I'm all for giving those two younger guys that they're really excited about a little bit more opportunity. Two things I wanted to touch on. Uh, well, mainly we'll stick with this one. Like after this game, a lot of people overreact to week one. I'm not saying we did. I think we like to think that we're pretty level headed so far. But did anything you see this game change your outlook on the season, or do you want to change your record prediction at all, if you could at this point?
No,
No.
Yeah, no, I don't think I'd
it's the
change the record
first game.
prediction.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not. I wasn't so like distraught, or I didn't lose confidence from the game that we saw. There were things that could get cleaned up throughout the season, and it's hard to really evaluate that after one game against a Big Ten opponent. I think that there's plenty of time to clean up the things. It's not like there was like a glaring major mistake that the Gophers showed. They got to run the ball. They got to get a little better up front. Defensively, I think that they're solid. They're going to only get
Yeah.
better, and I have no complaints with them. And I think offensively, the fact that they're throwing the ball pretty successfully is encouraging to me. And if they really just get back to their bread and butter in the run game, I don't see why they wouldn't have a good chance at hopefully competing for a West title.
Yeah, I feel like overall, yeah, like you guys kind of hit on the head. All the mistakes really came down to those drop passes, some questionable play calling. None of it was talent related. It was never like our defense just wasn't fast enough, or our quarterback can't
Right.
throw the ball more than 30, 40 yards. Like, it all just
Right.
came down to cleaning up little things, getting our guys healthy, and the credit to Nebraska too. I mean, they played hard. Matt Rule's a
Yeah,
great college football coach. I mean, they battled the whole game too.
Yeah.
If anything, my biggest takeaway was Nebraska looks a lot better than I expected
they
them
do.
to. So I props to them, I guess.
And
I
frankly,
go ahead.
real quick, Kurt, frankly, I wasn't overall impressed for the most part with all the Big Ten teams that played.
Yeah.
I just thought obviously some teams like Michigan handle their business. A lot of teams will do that, but across the landscape of the Big Ten, I wasn't thoroughly impressed. It's the first game; you can't really get
Yeah.
anything from that. So
Yeah.
yeah,
No,
I'm not going to
I
change my
agree. I agree
predictions.
with everything you guys said. I'm not changing my prediction at this point. Um, and thinking about it too, like trying to maybe going a little bit easier on the offensive coordinator. Like he did call a lot of stuff that was open underneath, and we either dropped it or just missed some easy completion. So I think that'll help kind of mimic a run game, if you will, like going forward, if we can just kind of get more consistent at that and clean that up. So yeah, I'm not going to push a panic button yet. And overall, you come away with the W. So yeah, Gophers start 1-0, and now they move on to this Saturday. They have a night game at home against Eastern Michigan, who I I don't know the common belief of who's supposed to win the MAC, but I think it's believed that Eastern Michigan is one of the teams that's supposed to be in the mix. Toledo is also very good, as we saw against Illinois. So, but let's start with Eastern Michigan. I don't know a lot, so forgive me if any Eastern Michigan fans are tuning into this expecting to hear a lot about the team. I only know some basics just from looking into you guys for 2 seconds here. Samson Evans is their best player at running back. He had over 1,000 yards last year, and he had a big game last week in their win over Howard. They also have a reliable receiver in Tanner Canoe. Not exactly sure on the pronunciation, but he's a senior, and they're led by two senior linebackers on defense that are sure tacklers and have been there a while, so they know the system. So some solid players all around. PJ talked very highly in his press conference earlier today about Eastern Michigan's special teams. So they're already a mismatch for us in one aspect of the game. And yeah, they play their starters there, according to PJ. And their coach has been there 10 years as well. So to last that long in the MAC, um, I know people kind of give not the MAC crap, but it's MAC and it's a played on a Tuesday and Wednesday night half the time. But he's had a lot of success there to be there that long. So should be a pretty interesting game. I think the spread is pretty big. I believe it's at minus 20.5 right now for the Gophers. Over under, I think I saw was 48.5. So what is that? Like they're thinking around a 35-14 type game. Um, Man, that seems a little high to me. Since I'm already this far, I'll just kind of go straight into how I think the game plays out. I think they're definitely going to be a little bit more patient with their run game in this one. Um, Eastern Michigan did give up some points last week to Howard, and I don't think Howard is the stiffest competition. Sorry if they are. I really don't know a lot about you, Howard, but yeah, I think the Gophers will have a better chance at running the ball. Obviously, this game, I would expect still to keep Ethan in the swing of things as far as how the offense is going to go this season. So I'm still expecting a pretty 50-50 pass run to start this game and then try and run the ball a lot late and preserve and run out the clock. Um, so that's how I see the game playing out. I'll let you guys talk before we give official score predictions. But Spence, if you want to go first this time and just say what you think about this matchup.
Yeah, I think that, like you said, Kurt, I don't know a lot about Eastern Michigan, but I think that they'll be motivated to play. It's against a Big Ten team, and like you said, they got a tenured coach there, so I think that they'll be disciplined and ready to play football. I think the spread is a little. It's interesting too. I think our defense can certainly shut out this team. Um, and if the Gophers do decide to sling the ball like they did against Nebraska, I don't see how they wouldn't score points. I know that we didn't in this last game, but you'd think like talent wise, we'd be a little more talented than them, and
Yeah.
don't know why we wouldn't score points going through the air that much. But like you said, Kurt, I think that they will give the running game a little bit more of a chance and kind of see that develop. I think that they have to really get, the offensive linemen gelling. So I think it'll be
Mm.
50-50. And yeah, I think that because of that, they might not get all the points that Vegas thinks. But I mean, if they really rely on that passing game, who knows?
Yeah, it'll. It's always hard to tell, right? Because Eastern Michigan, any MAC team, they're always gritty. They're always going to show up to play. I was trying to think of this game in terms of like, in a way that this was like an emotional win for the Gophers, and really, anytime in college
Hmm.
football, it seems like those things swing week to week a little bit. But hopefully, too, I didn't realize this game was also going to be a night game, so hopefully that kind of gives a little bit of that energy and excitement again. It's always
Yeah.
scary when you come off a big win, and then the next week you're playing at 11 a.m. against a small school because you just don't know. It always just feels a little bit bland in the first half of the
Yeah.
game, and you don't know how much of a spark that's going to give the opposition if they can take it over quickly. But I'm hoping we just see more efficiency out of the offense overall, passing and running. I mean, we threw the ball 44 times, and overall, I think we only gained like 3.5 yards per play offensively. So
Yeah.
it's got to be more efficient. If we get the ball past the 50 or the 40, we got to capitalize with points. I mean, that was the biggest killer. I thought was we get into a position where we can score, or at least pin them deep, and we just couldn't capitalize on it. So I mean, it doesn't matter how many yards you get if you're not coming away with points or some sort of positive, you know, positive game-changing possession. So defensively, not really concerned. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think like you said, Eastern Michigan only beat an FCS school by like 10 points, so hard to
And
tell.
looking
But
into it, they gave up over 200 yards rushing and an average of 5 yards per carry. So we better be able
right.
to run the football on these guys. So
Right.
um,
Yeah, I think the biggest
yeah.
key for me is just to see some explosive plays. If we can see a deep shot or someone break off a big run. I think our longest run last game was only like 11 yards. So,
Yeah, our longest play, we had two 20-yard plays, I believe, and that was the longest plays we had. So I'm with you.
right.
I'm selfishly, obviously I want us to be able to run the football because it's supposed to be an inferior opponent. I want to see what Ethan looks like with an actual rushing attack behind him, just to see. Obviously, the DBs probably aren't as good as Nebraska's were, but um, just to see if he looks a little bit more smooth and complete, I guess, as a passer with an actual running game to help him out and not have to carry so much of the burden. So that's probably what I'm looking forward to the most. Um, Night game against Eastern Michigan using context clues. I mean, we sent the black uniform into the Big Ten, conference meeting at the start of the season, the Big Ten media days, and then they've unveiled the black helmet already. Something tells me, the night game, I feel like they'll use the black uniforms as like a wake up to get hyped up for this game, but we'll see. When I'd be, yeah, probably going the black unis. And then, yeah, I got us winning. I think Eastern Michigan will be motivated, like you said. I think that we might see a little bit more of a standard passing attack. So I'm going to go the Gophers win uh, 28-7. That's what I got. I thought
Nice.
about going higher in points, but I just feel like we're gonna probably run the ball more, take control early, and just kind of get out of there with the W.
Yeah.
Definitely could see us scoring more, but I'll stick with that after what we saw against Nebraska. So I'm gonna go 28-7 Gophs.
I'm pretty close to that, Kurt. I got it 31-7. I think that we'll mix in a field goal here. And then I think that Gophers are good for being that they hold on to the ball all game long, and they should be able to do that against this team. I think they're good for about a touchdown a quarter. So, and sprinkle a little three in there sometime too.
Sure,
So 31-7 Gophs.
I like it.
I like
Yeah.
it.
I'm also very close to that. I'm hoping, I feel like I may be too optimistic offensively. I also have us getting 31 points. Um, I'm just going to predict a shutout, 31 rip. I think our
I
offense,
like
the
it.
defense, I think is strong enough to shut out a team like this anyways, but if we can get the help from the offense and keep them on the other side of the field and make them move, 70, 80 yards every time, then there's no reason we can't do it. So 31 rip.
I like it, guys. All right. Moving on to guys, the Sky U Pod parlay of the week starts off 0-1. We were close though.
Half a point.
We half a point off.
I
UCLA.
know. Bummer. And
UCLA.
I
We
blame it
needed.
on Sam because Sam comes in here every blue moon and he doesn't even come up with the one thing he has to do is homework, and he
I
doesn't do
know.
it. So we have to come up with one on the spot. Can't research it, and we come half a point short. So I blame Sam.
Yeah. That's a fair point. We'll let Sam respond to that next time he's on. If we let him back on, we're still pretty pissed about this whole thing.
Yeah.
Compared to last week overall, I think this is like a stacked slate. LSU Florida State was phenomenal. I know it ended up being kind of
Yeah.
a blowout, but a lot of great games this week as well. So I'll start with you guys. Did you guys have any games you liked off the get go as your lock of the week?
And for our parlay, right?
Yeah, for the Sky
Yeah.
Pod parlay. Yeah.
Boy, I'm looking at. I know this one might worry you guys, but I'm looking at the first college football game this week. It's on Friday. It's Illinois against Kansas.
Yeah, it's gonna be a great
Illinois
game.
goes to Kansas, and Kansas is a 3-point favorite. I got Illinois covering. I think that they'll cover that game. I know
Who
that's
did
like
Kansas play week one? I think
I
this
don't
is
think they played
sneakily like
anyone.
didn't they?
Like I don't think they played. I think they
Like
played a
anybody
FCS
notable?
school.
Gotcha.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, Toledo. I don't want to like overhype Toledo here. I'm going to be labeled a Toledo fan, but I do think Toledo is a good team. We were kind of discussing this earlier because we were discussing how we would power rank the Big Ten after week one. I was still going to stay pretty high in Illinois because to me, the big question mark was the offense. And again, it's Toledo, but the quarterback looks like the real deal. Everything that they were hoping to be. I think if you had to rank the Big Ten West quarterbacks right now, he would be Big Ten West. He would be number one, just with that performance. So I like it. That's what that long play I'm saying is I'll trust the defense to fix it. They have too much talent up front to consistently get beat up, not beat up like that, but just to be moved around the field like that. Although Kansas is a great team, so I do think it's close. But yeah, I like Illinois going with the points there.
Yeah, I do too. Also, is Kansas's quarterback back? Because I saw Jason Bean was starting for them last week. Unless they're just
Really?
saving him because they're playing. It was like Missouri State or something. But
Sure. I
I
assumed
don't
he
know.
was, but if he's not, then yeah, I like it even more.
Yeah. No, I think this is a little bit of everyone saw a close game against Toledo and freaked out, but no, I like that pick, Spence. I can
I'm going
go.
to be labeled a Kansas defender again.
There's-
rock, rock
These
shot,
are
baby.
these are the two teams I've kind of been defending. I feel like the last year, and now they're playing each other as far as national media attention.
It's the Kurt Felton Hype Bowl.
Yes.
Yeah. Um, yeah, no, there's at first I thought there was a game that I really loved, but I feel like it was probably just way too much of I just saw what happened, so I'm gonna not touch it. But I think my lock this week is gonna be Notre Dame. I saw they're between a 7 and an
I
eight
like
point
that one.
favorite. They go to North Carolina State, which I know can be for whatever reason they play really well at home, but I don't know. Notre Dame, they haven't really played anyone, but they just look different. And NC State didn't really show us much. I don't know. A touchdown doesn't seem like enough here. So take the Irish.
Nice.
Yeah,
Yeah, they look like 7.5-point favorites. So
I
I
like
like it.
that one as well. Honestly, I thought about going the Notre Dame game. I'm glad I didn't because you took it. There's one I still like, even though the line is set because people like this line, and it's a big game this week. I still like the under for Iowa versus Iowa State. It's currently at 36.5 points. So that means it can
Ooh.
finish 21-14 and it's still the under. I I think I gotta take that. I'm usually pretty bad record betting over under, so I was kind of scared to take it, but I I just feel like this one, if you're playing the percentages, this one has a pretty good chance at hitting. So I'm gonna stick with the under for the Iowa State. Um, they play for the Cyhawk, right? I believe that's the one. They just combine the names. Yeah. So I'm gonna
Yeah,
take
Yeah,
the under.
I like that.
I like
Iowa
it.
State is like, well, both teams, I guess, are missing all these players with the gambling problems.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
Iowa
Yeah,
State's starting quarterback is just, he's just done, I think, right?
D-
Yeah,
yeah,
I think he
disaster.
transferred or something, didn't he,
Oh, did
before
he
the
really?
start of the
Oh,
season? I might be confusing
oh,
someone else. One of the quarterbacks
okay.
on the roster, the one that was on video, I thought he just transferred out once that video got leaked of him talking about how he's betting he's betting on his team to win, but you can't
Can't do
have these
that.
guys just betting on their own games.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Well, that,
Stupid.
yeah. Not to get too much into it, I think the big problem too is a lot of the guys were not 21 when they started, so it was like
Yeah.
legally
Oh
not good.
wow.
So
Yeah,
we'll leave it at that.
it might be the same kid we're talking about, but he was using his mom's social
Yeah.
security number to get signed up and all that
Hmm.
stuff. So, and I've seen a lot of Iowa and Iowa State people on Twitter just saying "Well, there's no way Iowa's got the only players doing this. This is bull crap." I'm like, well, that may be true, but it's also tough to feel bad for you when do you know how often these guys are probably told you're not allowed to
It's
bet on
Right.
any
it's
of this
not
stuff.
like it's implicit. They
I
literally say, "Do not bet
Yeah.
on these games."
At Winona State University, which is Division II, and I think all their athletics, there was signs up in the gym, in the weight room, about how if you're an athlete, you are not allowed to gamble in March Madness. It was they had it everywhere, and that was Winona State. So it's tough to feel bad when they knew they weren't supposed to do it. I guess
Right.
Right.
and I know a lot of it. I know some Iowa fans, the D tackle, I believe, was gambling on Iowa basketball, and they're like, "Oh, it's not even a sport." It's but if they let that
Yeah.
slide one
Yeah.
day, it's going to be hey, miss this shot, man, and we're going to split this huge. But it's just
Right.
inevitable, and it's not a
Yeah.
character issue of these guys currently. It's just somebody. The temptation's going to be there for some reason, and you just don't want that in there because as soon as that's in there, it's all room. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's
Especially in
tough to
this
feel bad.
era of NIL.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
it's not like they
yeah,
go do a commercial. I don't know.
you're right,
Yeah.
I don't
right.
know. I
Or
guess I
I
can't
mean,
really talk. I like gambling on stuff, but yeah.
and yeah, I
We
we
don't
do,
play though,
but
so we
yeah,
Yeah.
can.
we don't
Yeah.
play. We don't play, can't play. It's all the same. Let's just get into some picks for the week here then. Max, you got the standings next to you of who's leading after week one. It's okay if
I
you don't, because I
believe,
don't think I did well.
let's see. You
All
are
I know is I got
actually
the Florida
leading.
State. Oh boy.
You're leading. You went 2-2. The rest of us went
Oh.
1-3. I had
Oh.
Duke.
Dang.
Duke saved me. I was about to
Jeez.
go 0-4, but for whatever reason, I picked Duke. So that's how bad
All
I was.
right. Well, genius. Um. Yeah. Okay. Well, I was going to do Illinois, Kansas the Friday. We will hold off on that. Let's get into this one. This is an interesting one at 11 a.m. Well, there's two. Actually, oh yeah, Nebraska at Colorado. Colorado is a 3-point favorite. I think a lot of people have this as maybe the one of the games of the week. I have no idea how this is going to play out just because they just played such drastically different games. Colorado in a shootout victory, very impressive for them. Doing it with basically all transfers, and then Nebraska with the Gophs, just a defensive matchup, really. So I don't know. Do you guys have a gut feeling? Because I really don't know which way. I guess.
I think that Colorado does it. They're 3-point favorites at home. Um, I wish it was 2.5, but I'll take
Yeah.
Colorado in the points. I guess I know this is sidetracking, but everyone's talking about Colorado, Colorado, Colorado. if Nebraska wins, what does that mean for Minnesota? What is like?
Big
Are we
Ten
going to hear
champs.
anything? Like, you know what I mean? I
No,
just feel like,
no,
you
no.
know,
No, I know what
yeah,
you mean, but like, no,
yeah,
that they won't swing back and be like, "Huh, Minnesota must." No, that won't happen.
right,
You
yeah,
know, Spencer, you kind of mentioned the reason. I think I actually am gonna go the Huskers. Maybe part of it's hoping that like that talk comes around for us, even though I don't
yeah,
think it will. But that they are getting so much attention now, like even more than what they were getting. I guess I'm just betting on the odds. Like, let's just see how they handle all this hype in the first home game
right.
with a pretty physical Nebraska team. So for that reason, I'll go the Huskers to cover the points. I don't know if they'll win, but I'll guess I'll take them with the points.
Yeah, no, that I don't think that's a bad play. This was one that you know, I think a lot of college football fans, you watch half of the first game of the season and you know who's going to win the national championship, right? Like
Yeah,
who all
yeah.
everyone's going to how all the chips are
You
going to fall.
you should have seen Twitter. I feel like everyone really felt that way. I was like, is this all sarcasm or I'm missing it? But then I'm
Right.
like, no, like literally everyone's tweeting this out. It can't be. Like
Right.
they were in. But yeah. Sorry, go
So
ahead.
yeah, you kind of it's almost one of those you got to watch the games on mute and not look at social media and then kind of decide, and look at the stats after the game. Like if you look at, and honestly too, that TCU Colorado game, like if you look at the stats, TCU kind of squandered a lot of opportunities, but Colorado talent wise, like they got some dudes too. So I'm
Yeah.
gonna take Colorado home game. This is one
Yeah.
where it was like, is this just an immediate letdown? Like that's such a crazy win for Colorado, but I feel like with Dion, he's like, there's no way he's gonna let them get complacent or like you can't have that be your first game and then just be like, all right, let's go party. Like I feel like
Right.
Dion's gonna have his guys ready. So
Yeah. Um, yeah, that's not a bad. I knew one thing for sure is that I wasn't gonna actually put money on this one at all. Like when we were doing this
No,
kind of.
no,
no,
Um, I like this one because it's the Big Ten. You got Purdue traveling to Virginia Tech. They just lost a heartbreaker to Fresno State, who is a good program. I feel like people were kind of quick to point out that a Big Ten West team lost already in non-conference, but it's like Fresno State beats Pac-12 teams all the time. I feel like so. It is what it is. I don't know if did I mention Virginia Tech's a 3-point favorite over Purdue. I might have said
yeah,
that wrong. If I would have seen a little bit more out of Purdue's offensive line, I would take them. I really would. I would not be shocked at all. This is such a coward's fan. I would not be shocked at all if Purdue wins, but I am going to take Virginia Tech at home in that tough environment. But Hudson Card, I thought looked pretty good. I think Purdue's offensive line is going to be and obviously the defense, right? They couldn't really stop them, but if I saw a little bit more of the offensive line, I think I might pick Purdue for the upset, but I'll stick with Virginia at home.
I gotta go with the Boilermakers. Um, I'm not a Virginia Tech believer.
Yeah, after last
So
year.
that's all I gotta say. I got the Boilermakers, man.
they redeemed themselves. They covered against Old Dominion this year.
They did, they did, they did, they did. I thought it was gonna be some last year that should have happened, but hey,
Yeah.
You
whatever.
can't put two
So
and two together at home, folks. Someone lost
yeah.
Yeah.
money last year.
Yeah. Exactly.
I know. I can't blame you. That was tough. But I no, I agree. I think I got to go Purdue as well. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like week one, it's always it's always interesting to see how teams bounce back. I feel like Purdue offensively can just maybe they can just score at will. I don't know
Yeah.
what we'll see defensively, but I feel like that's their only hope. And I don't know, 3 points isn't a lot, but I'll just take it.
Yeah. And I don't know why. I find myself they just won the West and beat us last year. I find myself kind of rooting for this Purdue team to like have a decent season. I don't know why. Maybe it's just that coach. I like him, but maybe that'll change come season time when it's time to play him. I don't know. At 2:30 slot is stacked actually. So you got Ole Miss taking on Tulane. Uh
Yeah.
Tulane is at home. Um Mississippi Ole Miss is a 7.5 point favorite. Uh
I
I'm
got
gonna
the
take
wave covering.
yeah.
I do. I think that
Good.
this team is just a team. They're fun to watch. They're exciting. Ole
Yeah.
Miss, they looked on fire last game, but I don't know. There's
Played
something about
nobody.
this Purdue, or I'm sorry, this Tulane team that makes you believe. So I got their roll wave.
I like it. I'm taking Ole Miss just because I feel like a lot of people like Tulane, and I still like them to be that representation at the end of the season for the non Power Five team. I'm going to take Ole Miss by about 14, 10 to 14 points. I think they can do that, so I'm going to take Ole Miss.
Uh, man, this one,
I wouldn't put money on it.
no,
No,
no. This is one where like I feel like my brain just says Ole Miss, but I want Tulane, so I'm just gonna. I I don't mean to copy you every one of your Spence, but I'm gonna go with Tulane as well.
good choice, man.
Yeah. All right. And then we have, well, I picked the over under. We got to do the spread on it. Iowa is a 4-point favorite in Ames versus Iowa State this Saturday, another 2:30 game. I'm going to take Iowa. I think the defense is still good, and I just don't have as much trust in Iowa State as I do Iowa. I think that's 4 points is a lot in this game, but it is. Yeah, like I
Yeah,
don't.
It
It
really
it
might
is.
be a
is.
9. It
It
might be a
is.
9-6 final, or 10-7. So I'm
Yeah,
gonna stick with Iowa though.
agreed. I got Iowa covering this game. Um, Finally, last year Iowa State beat them. There was a
Yeah,
drought, kind of like the Gophers, but I think Iowa comes back this year for a vengeance and covers that spread.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's Iowa. It's really close, good game last year, but with all the guys Iowa State lost, Iowa just seemed to take a big step forward. So Hawkeyes, I don't think they'll let up at the end. I don't think the Ferences will, you know,
yeah,
they want revenge bad.
yeah. Okay. Well, we have to do these two because one's a Big Ten matchup, or one Big Ten team involved, and the other's like the game of the week. So we'll start with that one. Texas at Alabama, night game, 6 o'clock. We have Alabama as a 7-point favorite. I bet the Tide. I picked the Tide last year, and I don't think they covered. Um,
That was a
so
close game.
it was. Bama looked really good. I know they didn't play anybody, but they looked really good last week. And I think I'm just going to do some reverse psychology on myself. And I feel like I should pick Bama, but they wronged me last year. So I'm going to go with Texas for the upset. Maybe there's finally a reason everyone's believing in Texas again. We'll take Texas with the points. And I don't
Disagree.
feel good about that. Yeah.
I got Bama. Um, Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. I don't think that's Nick Saban. I think they're handling it this time. It's at home. Guy got the Tide.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have to agree again. I think just both sides of the ball. I think Alabama's probably better in Tuscaloosa. Um, I feel like been so much talk with how like is Nick Saban losing? Like is Alabama not the same? Like are they gonna fall off? Like I don't know. I don't see that yet. I know there's still the quarterback issues, but Milrow they've done a lot with never really having a quarterback anyway. So I'll take Bama.
Yeah, tough to fault you there. And then we have Wisconsin visiting Washington State, both 1-0. Wisconsin is a 6.5-point favorite. I don't know much about Washington State this year, but if they have most of their squad back from last year, does anyone know that before I make my pick?
They got their quarterback back. Forget his
That's all
name.
I needed. I'll take Washington State with the 6.5 points, and my dog is chiming in. He's going to take them too. Washington State covers the 6.5 at home. It's a night game out west. So, yeah, this Saturday is stacked. There's a lot of good matchups.
Yeah. I was hoping that you didn't bring this one up, Kurt, because I literally don't know. I don't know what to choose. We got a Washington State team, like you said, Kurt. I don't know what to expect from them. And then Wisconsin, I'm not really sure what we'll expect from them. I just know the ball's going to be in the air a lot. So I got Wisconsin. I'll just go for
Yeah.
All right, good. I can pick one different than you, Spence. I'll take Wazoo. It is a tough one. I was surprised that Wisconsin was that big of a favorite. I know it's hard to like.
Right. Yeah.
I know you're not supposed to like compare with last year, but like Washington State was a underdog last year and beat Wisconsin at home, and
Yeah.
now they go to Washington State, which they always play a lot better at home, anyways. Plus, that's well, I guess it only matter. It's a night game because it's nope, never
It's
mind.
out west.
Doing some bad math here.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I'll take Washington State. I think they can win the game, so take the points.
Yeah, that was my point. Buffalo moved the ball on Wisconsin, so that's part of
Right.
the reason I felt a little bit better about picking Wazoo
And it's
here.
hard to
But
call it like a revenge game too, and it's a completely different Wisconsin team.
right,
Right.
a bunch of new faces. Yeah, there's games, guys, that I didn't get to. Like I thought for sure we'd pick like A&M plays Miami and all that, but
Yeah.
we've picked enough. There's a lot of good games this weekend. That'll do it for this episode of Sky U Pod. Thanks for tuning in. We are the Gopher Football Podcast for big banter. Check them out on Twitter and like and subscribe if you like the content here. I have to start pushing that as we are on YouTube now. So thanks again, guys, for tuning in. Your Gophers are leading the Big Ten West and looking forward to another game this Saturday. Go Gophs.